What up, y'all? So it's been 2 months since I got my hands on the Galaxy Z Fold 4, and really, y'all, it's been my Android daily driver ever since. But should you actually buy one? I would say yes, but then I will also say no. Let me explain what I mean. Now I'm gonna go ahead and break this video down into a couple different parts. Like, we gotta talk about both of the screen qualities, the one on the front here as well as the one on the inside, and just kind of how that's actually been holding up, because that was actually a main concern of mine when I bought this device. We also gotta talk about how the battery life has been, because that's, you know, that's kind of a big deal when you have a phone like this. We also gotta talk about the cameras, and yeah, we got to talk about these cameras, y'all. And then we also got to talk about the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 processor and kind of that whole experience. And the other thing we got to talk about is this S Pen right here, and just like, is it really like useful? Like, is it something that I really use? And just overall, if I think you guys should actually buy this one or not, which you guys heard me already say yes, and then you heard me say no, but there's really like only one reason like why I actually say no. So just keep watching for that, because I'm gonna break that all the way down. But y'all already know what to do. First, comment down below right now how many likes is on this video at the time you guys are watching it, and let's go ahead and run it up. All right, so starting with the screens and how it's actually held up, because I think we all pretty much know by now that the screen quality on this phone here, as far as picture quality and what you get out of the screen, is like top tier for sure. So I don't really think there's a question about that, and I don't really want to dive down in that in this video, because you can check out my other video where I talked about that. I would say, with me actually using this phone with no case on it, and yeah, y'all already know I'm a rebel out here when it comes to that, and I know some of y'all are too, so, you know, let me know in the comments. But to me, y'all, I feel like it held up really good. I don't think I have a single scratch on this phone at all when it comes to the screens. But as a pro tip, I will say, and I will recommend, when you guys are actually opening up this phone right here, I do not recommend you guys digging like your thumb into it, as far as having like your nail to kind of pry it open, because what could happen is your fingernail could actually slip and actually scratch and puncture this inside screen right here. So you don't want to run the risk of that. So what I recommend you guys do is actually just take your thumb as it is, lay it flat on the sides right here, and just kind of push down and then open this way, versus kind of prying your thumb in there and then possibly puncturing the screen, because, you know, you don't want to run any risk of damaging this inner display right here, since it is a softer material and can be easily punctured. Also, when it actually comes to the crease on this screen right here, like, honestly, y'all, it was a concern for me from a long-term perspective to actually see, like, does it actually get worse over time, and does it still show? So far for me, still, I feel like it blends easily into whatever I may be watching on the screen, and I don't notice it at all, unless I'm like really like pixel peeping and looking for it. But with my testing of both of these screens right here, I feel like they're both are solidly built, and it's gonna go the distance. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the battery life, because this is a big deal right now. Now, I actually hate talking about battery life on this channel, because it's a really subjective topic, and it really depends on how much you guys actually use your phone throughout the day. And if we're being real, most of these phones today can actually last an entire day if you're not actually on it 24/7, which you shouldn't be, because you actually should be doing something that's just a little bit more productive with your time and with your day, after obviously watching my videos, of course. But with my normal usage of like browsing the web, using this phone for like multitasking at times, being active on my socials, which make sure you follow your boy on IG at CKid TV, and on Twitter at CKid TV_, and as well as gonna be a new gaming channel that's gonna be coming soon. So definitely make sure you guys are checking out the community tab here on this channel, y'all, because I will be announcing that like really soon, because I'm gonna be streaming there on Saturday. So definitely make sure you guys be on the lookout for that. Now, I will say it's not on the same level of what I saw out of the S22 Ultra, so don't expect that out of this phone, which I love that battery life in that phone. But I think for it being a device that is powering 2 screens, it's solid for me for sure. But still, I feel there is no reason that Samsung shouldn't have given us a 5,000 milliamp battery in this phone to push it like further in the day. But, you know, that's another topic for another day. All right, so next let's go ahead and talk about the performance with the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 processor, and just kind of how that whole experience has been for me during these 2 months of testing this phone. So I'll go ahead and say this. When it actually comes to performance with this phone here, I would say it's quick-ish. So what I mean by that is, when it comes to like swiping gestures, opening and closing applications, using the cameras on this phone, if I'm scrolling and rendering and all of that kind of stuff like that, it's been good. But the downside is, when you actually open an app on this front display and then you transfer it and open it with the larger display on the inside, it sometimes takes too long to render that image or open that application. It kind of like gets stuck, and then sometimes I have to close out the whole app and then reopen it while it's already on this larger display. So I would definitely like to see in the future if Samsung could like make that flow a little smoother in the next gen, because I feel like at this price point of $1,500, to me it's unacceptable for something like this to be happening or going on, as to me I felt like that feature is like a major selling point of this device being app continuation. But other than that, I will say my experience overall with using this phone from a software and chip speed perspective has been pretty much solid, which is expected since, you know, that Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 processor is, I mean, it's a good chip. All right, so the cameras. Now, this is where I feel like for those Samsung heads out there, I'm probably gonna hurt your feelings with this, and the cameras on this phone here they're just okay to me. Like, and this is me being completely unbiased because you guys already know I love this fold phone here and just foldable phones in general. But I have to be honest with you guys as well as being honest with myself and just call a spade a spade. Like, it's just okay. Like, to me, there's really no reason why Samsung didn't give us like the same camera tech that we got in the S22 Ultra, especially when, you know, they're charging $1,500 for this phone. Like, to me, there is no excuses for putting like mid-tier cameras on this device. And I get it. The first 3 generations of this phone, like, it was trial and error. They was like trying to figure everything out and all of that. But now, like, we on generation 4 of this phone, and now I'm at a point where like I want the sauce. Like, I want all of the sauce that I feel like the money should be warranted and should be giving me with this device and kind of what I'm paying for. But like I said, with the times I do take photos and videos with this phone, which if I'm being honest is really not all the time, but when I do, I want the sauce. Like, put the same sauce that you gave the S22 Ultra and put it into this phone, because those cameras on that phone, fire. Now, this last thing here, I know I'm gonna get a crazy amount of hate for saying what I'm about to say, and that is the S Pen here. To me, I felt like is a major afterthought. Now, I know this phone here is the king. It is the king of productivity when it comes to smartphones, but because I don't really like any other cases that houses the S Pen, I find myself like never really using the S Pen at all. And if I'm being real honest with y'all, again, this is completely unbiased, I would rather Samsung take 2 different approaches with the next model. One, either finally put a slot on this phone here for the S Pen to be housed in like we get on the S22 Ultra and in the past Note series, RIP the Note. Or number 2, just get rid of the S Pen altogether on the Z Fold series, because having to use this ugly case, hold on, let me put this case on here so y'all can see what I'm talking about. Having to use this ugly case here on this phone, I feel like it's just not the wave at all. Like, and I know what y'all gonna say, CKid, there's better cases and stuff that out there. Listen, I've yet to find a case that looks good on the Galaxy Z Fold 4, and if you know me by now, y'all already know I don't do cases anyway, which adds to my point of why I rarely use the S Pen on this phone, because it's more of an afterthought for me to actually use this on this phone than just like use my fingers to be able to navigate. I just feel like it's quicker. But the S Pen, to me, it's a no-no. Although I will say, when you do use the S Pen on this phone, it does work great. I just don't like how they implemented the S Pen on the Galaxy Z Fold 4, as I just feel like it's an afterthought. So do I think that you guys should actually buy this phone after having it and just using it daily for 2 straight months? Yes and no. Now, the reason why I say no is strictly because of the price. To me, this price has to come down on this phone. Now, I understood the price when it was Gen 1 through 3, but now we at Gen 4, and Samsung, I feel like it's time to either find a new manufacturing facility that can manufacture these on the low, because $1,500 in today's inflated times don't make any sense for me to ever, and I mean ever, recommend me telling someone to run out there and go buy this phone right now. Like, no way in hell I would tell somebody to spend $1,500 on a smartphone. Although I love it, but I still think it's too expensive if you ask me. Now, the reason I say yes is because it's such a fun phone, y'all, to have. Like, just being on socials, using this larger display just changes the overall experience for me. And don't even get me started on watching content on this phone right here, like YouTube, Netflix, and different things like that. Like, it is so fire, y'all. Battery life on here is solid considering my earlier points that I mentioned, and it's quick with performing tasks. I mean, it's really like hard to not like this phone. So I think honestly, y'all, it ultimately comes down to you. Like, do you have just $1,500 burning a hole in your pocket that you just want to go ahead and blow? Then by all means, jump frog and just, don't get hit by no cars. But if it was me and I wasn't a YouTuber with the business reviewing consumer products, then I would say save your money and just keep whatever phone that you guys have until they actually lower the price on this phone to somewhere around the $1,000 mark, because I just think that extra $500 is just not worth it. But again, just use what works for you.